Welcome, everyone. So, depending on where you are, I am live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, and TikTok. If you want to see my cute little background, you probably want to go on YouTube. And it's Heal Your Way Forward. Very grateful to be present with you all for my second live of the day. Doing 2 lives a day for 30 days because we are going to sell 3,000 copies of Heal Your Way Forward to support individual and collective liberation. So I'm super excited to be here today, pushing myself to show up for myself because sometimes it's easier to show up for others than it is yourself. And so really excited that I am pushing forward and healing forward at the same time. So thank y'all for being here. I am very off center, and I don't know if I really that bothers me or not. We're just now trying to get it set up here with these 3 different streaming devices we got going on. So I am very excited to talk to everyone about the 3K and 30-day book launch that we're having. One of the things that Tamla Gordon is always good at reminding me is to always celebrate and talk about my book. So we're going to talk about it every day for 30 days. Whether you want to hear it or you don't want to hear it, we're going to talk about it. So just know that when you see me live 2 times a day, when you see me live on all the internet streets, just know that I'm live with intention. I'm live with purpose, and I'm live with vision. And I also saw my friend AC Brown posted last week, August 29th is when I saw it. Gonna go live every day for 30 days, once or twice a day, I believe AC is going live. Because the invitation is for all of us who are healers, who are doing the work of liberation, with just all this energy, like we are being called to show up. And so the question for myself is, am I showing up? And how am I showing up? And what does it mean to show up? Because there's so much happening in the world right now, it can be easy to give up on yourself and actually become paralyzed by fear. And fear and paralyzation is a privilege. It is a privilege when you can, hey, Nancy, step back and sit in fear. It is a privilege to do that. And so this is just that reminder that, there's a lot happening in the world, and we don't want to just be immobilized by fear, right? We also want to have hope for something better, hope for something more, hope for humanity. And I think right now we're being bombarded. I said this morning, I'm going to repeat it again. We are being bombarded by the systems of oppression, and it is very intentional. Your news feed, your social media feed, anywhere you get information, all of these feeds are bombarding you, and you still have a choice. And I think one of the things that we have to start doing is to reclaim our attention so that we can reclaim our nervous systems, because there's so much information that I think a lot of us don't know who to look, who to trust. And not only is there information, we are in the AI age now, so it's disinformation. So you don't know what's real from what's fake. Like you don't really know because it's hard to tell. And so I really want everyone to start reclaiming your nervous system, reclaiming your time, reclaiming your energy, because the more you reclaim, the more you make space for like really the work of liberation. And so when I think about like Heal Your Way Forward and why I'm doing this, I think it's very important that this is a book. I'll grab from this side. This is a book that came out like 3 years ago. Oh, let me put this down so you're not in my business. This book came out like 3 years ago. And so one of the things that I was really looking forward to is, how do we pre-launch this? Like, what can we do to really remind people what the work of liberation is, which is healing our way forward? It was like, you know what? We're just going to go for it. We're going to get 3,000 of these books out in 30 days. And I don't even know how. I just know I'm showing up on social media. I'm making flyers. I'm handing them out. And I'm like, hey, this is the goal. Let's do it. And so the only way to do that, though, is for me to help people understand you need to reclaim your attention. You need to reclaim your time. You need to figure out, how much time am I putting in social media? You need to figure out, how much time am I watching breaking news? And is the news and is what I'm taking in disassociating me so I'm not present for myself? Because the work of individual and collective liberation thrives when you're present. When you're disembodied, disconnected, and disassociated, you are performing. And in Heal Your Way Forward, if you have the paperback version or maybe you don't, there's a whole chapter on action is not a performance. And so I'm going to open it up and find it. page 99, if you have the paperback, there's a whole chapter on real action is not a performance. And I start with the quote, all the world's a stage and all the men and women are merely players. We know that that's by William Shakespeare. Some people say William Shakespeare is actually a Black woman. We're not going to talk about that now. But in order for you to be fully present and mindfully aware in liberation work means that you have to start doing audits of where your time and attention is going, which means that you have to pay attention. So one of the things a lot of people don't know about me is that I love astrology, I love gene keys, I love human design, I love looking at my birth chart, I love living cyclical, so I no longer operate my life on like the constructs of oppression, right? Like literally, I'm like, oh, it's 2:00. Oh, wow, what was I doing? Probably taking a nap or reading a book because I've reclaimed my time. And last week in our collective, we were just going to do a 7-day social media detox, like 7 days, right? And I went on TikTok and I went on the app saying, hey, we're not going to be here for 7 days. And I think on one of these apps, we were giving tips of what you can do to start pulling your attention back. And I think that's one of the things that we have to start doing is like these small social media detoxes, because I'm sure you've seen movies like The Social Dilemma, and we've seen tech bros come out and say, hey, this is really dangerous, what we got going on, scale back, but we're not present. We are disassociated and not in tune because we're in fear. And we're in fear, and I want to just be very clear. The fear that, from my experience working with people in white bodies, is that you are losing your privilege. Something that you were born with and you were born into, all of a sudden it's like, bye, peace. You don't have it anymore because of the current administration. So what do? Is you power hold and you try to hold on to the little bit that you still got out of fear. And not only are you power grabbing and holding on out of fear, right? But you're also like disassociated and not realizing where it's coming from. And it's just coming from your media and being bombarded with breaking news. So my question is, do you really need to watch? I didn't watch Don Lemon today, but I think he went live like 4 times. Do you really need to watch Don Lemon all 4 times? Do you really need to watch me twice a day on the internet? Do you really need to see Aaron Parnas all day long? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Start paying attention to how you feel when you hear breaking news, whether it's on social media, on TV, on the internet. What is your body doing when you hear breaking news? For me, before I did all these social media detoxes, I was bracing like, oh my God. Because at that time, before long COVID, before I got really sick, I was like, well, I'm a liberation teacher, so I got to show up for my people. I got to let them know what's going on. I got to let them know what we were doing. That is so exhausting to try to be on for people who you don't even know if they want to be a part of the journey, right? I am no longer sacrificing my mental and emotional and physical health because of breaking news. And many people would argue and say, well, you're a Black woman in liberation space and you need to rest, and that's fine. And I'm always going to push back because I'm like, what does that have to do with all of us as humans living a human experience, disassociated, disconnected, and disembodied? Whether I'm Black or white, I'm still human. And I still don't want to put myself in positions where I'm disconnected, disassociated, and not present because I'm trying to keep up with the news that is bombarding me, that is taking me all the way where I don't need to go. And that's why it's important to audit, take a break, scale back, give yourself permission. You don't need my permission or any other anti-racist liberation teacher's permission to step back, because you are a human first. And there is more harm that is caused from performance than presence. I'd rather you be rested and present and showing up for individual and collective liberation than disassociated and performing. Because performing is not good for any of us, especially Black and Indigenous bodies. The performance is not good. And so when we talk about performing, I actually said in this book, you can actually get a link, go to the link in bio, grab your copy of Heal Your Way Forward, be the first person to get to the campaign. The campaign link is in the bio. Who's going to be book number 1? Let's see who does it tonight. Okay, so when you read like the first paragraph, right? I'm like, according to mainstream media, 2020 fueled the largest social movement in American history. But I beg to differ because a social movement would have led to widespread resistance, institutional change, and a revolution in policy and philosophy. But what we saw in 2020 through the middle of 2021, and actually, I would say if I edit this, I would say up until now, what we saw, right, was the greatest white performance in American history. You spent more time showing off the work and not living into it. You were pretending to be someone you aren't and pretending to have something you don't have. In the workplace and on the streets in 2020, many white people showed up through the three phases of white performance that many individuals first experience on this journey. First is the Great White Awakening, fueled by the publicized death of George Floyd. Folks began waking up to the reality that something wasn't right. The awakening continued as more Black death dominated the news and narrative for the summer. Black trauma fueled performative action by white allies and anti-racism experts. It went from that to what I call the amplified melanated voices, where people were getting on other people's Instagram accounts. Then from there, it went to I called it the Great White Shock and Awe. You guys remember when people stormed the Capitol? Y'all remember then those folks like jumped in the Capitol, and now they have said it never happened. It didn't happen. But anyway, we all remember that it happened. And during that, and I still see this happening today, what happens is that something will happen in the world. And what I've noticed with people in white bodies is that y'all will be like, oh my God, look at those white people. And I'm sitting here like, look at what white people? Because you cannot exempt yourself from your culture. Like you can, like this whole other thing of like non-practicing white person, you cannot distance yourself from whiteness. I can't even distance myself from whiteness, and I'm a Black woman born in America. You know what I'm saying? Like you cannot just take away, oh, I'm a non-practicing white person. That's just ridiculous. Please stop saying that. It minimizes the work of the ancestors and the elders. Please stop saying you're non-practicing. Please say I'm a practicing person on the liberation journey, but not a non-practicing white person. But I've noticed that this exceptionalist behavior that shows up in people in white bodies, that you are the exception because you've been on this journey for so many long, that you are the exception because you follow all the rules and you have your favorite people that you follow and you're in all these classes. And I want to ask everybody who's watching me live, who remembered what I talked about in 2020? If you can show me and point to me one thing that I've talked about in 2020, and I'm going to let some of y'all come in the comments because maybe you have an answer. Who remembers something I said in 2020? Anything. Not 2021, not 2022, not 2023. I am very curious. Who remembers something that I said in 2020? I have one in my head because. And maybe you didn't find me until 2021, 2020, 22, even if I will say 2020 and later. Tell me something that I have said that has stuck with you in the last 2 to 5 years. Because this is how we tell what performance is. And this is not to guilt you or shame you, but this is to show you that when we don't take action that sticks and we're just in the motions of something, being in the motions is not leading to sustainable change. Being in the motions does not lead to sustainable change. Being in the motions does not lead to sustainable change. Can anyone tell me something that you remember me saying in the last 2 to 5 years? Now, if you've had COVID a couple of times, I'm going to charge it to your head and not your heart, because as someone navigating and recovering still from long COVID, the brain fog is real. Oh, you got me, Tanya. I knew Tanya was going to come through. Seek connection over conflict. I have been saying that. I've been saying that, I think, since 2020, Tanya. Maybe even 21. Seek connection, not conflict. My message has not changed, right? It just shows up when it needs to show up. I have been saying seek connection, not conflict. That's so real. Who else can tell me something that you remember me saying in the last 2 to 5 years? And this is not to give Tanya gold stars. Tanya is a member of our collective. We've done work together. Tanya is super supportive. Oh, here it comes. And move like water, keep adapting and evolving. Absolutely. I do have to give credit to Jordy, Lester, and Lenny, because they told us that in 2023 in the spring, flow like water. And we've just adapted that too. But I guess I've been also saying it since 2021. Scuba diving, move like water. Oh, Mary Helen, I sure did borrow from Albert Einstein. Nothing changes until something moves. Absolutely. You got to take action. So a lot of people are like, well, how do these people know? Like, how do they remember? I'm not just like this public figure. I'm so glad that I just brought this up. I think a lot of people see me and I understand. It's like, oh my God, that's Maisha. And I'm just like, that's weird. If you have to do it, it's okay. But I'm going to say, okay, just breathe because I'm a human just like you. But like, I'm in collective community with folks. Like I intentionally don't have a Patreon because for me, a Patreon positions me as an expert and someone who's, and I don't want to say I'm not an expert. I just don't do well with oppressive language and what I've seen the word expert do for me culturally as a Black neurodivergent, all the labels person. And so because I'm in collective community with people in white bodies, they can actually remind me of things that I've said. There's even times where people have like sticking oh yeah, you said that and we were doing this workshop and then it just came out. And I'm like, what? Another example is in December of 2023 during the training, I just looked at the camera and I should find this clip and play it. But I'm like, Donald Trump's going to be the next president and we're not going to be ready and prepared for what's coming. We need to start building our collectives and our communities now and be prepared. Like, I'm going to find that clip and try to play it on one of these lives because literally I'm like, whoa, how did I know that? Right? How did I know? Because I saw the signs and they all pointed this way. Something else that Jess has right here is I say there is room for white tears. That was the most controversial. That is chapter 3. Again, go to the link in bio and support our campaign. Get a book. Who's going to be number 1? That is the most controversial thing I said. You remember when I said that? I started getting canceled. Everybody was like, it was great. I think I still have the video where I said that we believe that everyone has a right to their whole humanity. Sure did almost get canceled. And actually I've been canceled and I don't even care. This one I was just like, whatever that means. I just got to show up for myself and for humanity. But yeah, there's room for white tears was controversial because I feel like I'm unless you're a mindfulness like teacher or a therapist, you're telling people to feel their feelings. What happens when you tell people not to feel their feelings? They are from the neck up. They are from the neck up. Right? Like if you are telling people, and I grew up like this for a while, like from here down, there was no feeling. You could not touch people. You could not hug people. When you hugged, you had to give the church hug, right? Like you guys remember the church hug? Like give space between your bodies and do like that back pat on the back. But it was very controversial for me to say as a Black woman, like, you can have your tears, just don't weaponize them. And that was actually a last minute chapter. I was not going to write about that, but I said, you know what? I'm going to write about this because somebody needs to say it. And I said it and people were upset. But when people started coming to the workshop and there's so many things that we do that I give a free download. We give a free download to chapter 3 of Room for White Tears. We do give it away because for me, I think it's a transformational chapter. And it's not just because I wrote it. But I do remember the uproar that it caused when I said it. And now here we are 3 years after I said it, maybe 4 years. And it's that one statement, there is room for white tears, has changed a lot of lives. That one statement has opened people up in ways that they probably couldn't even imagine for themselves. You know, I mean, Jess right there, she says it was life-changing for her. I think it was one of those moments where, you know, when I'm writing, you guys know who I listen to when I write. Maybe you don't listen to Beyonce and BTS. I listen to Beyonce and BTS. BTS is a South Korean K-pop group, so I'm like a army hive, both fandoms. And so sometimes I think I was listening to BTS, and that's when it came, There Is Room for White Tears. But for those of you who remember, you remember some of the things that I said because we are in collective community together. Like we do this, we live this, we practice it. We're in our Signal chat, we're in our Kajabi, we're seeing each other every other weekend. Like I know about you, grandkids, your parents, cousins. Like that's why I've always remember saying that this work, I used to say this work survives on relationships, but it thrives. The work thrives when you're in relationship. And I think that's why I'm so like low key, like the leaders who are actually sitting in relationships with white bodies are the ones that are transforming the journey. For me, again, that's why I don't have a Patreon. I don't want you guys donating money for me to have to give you all this content. You know what I mean? I have to give people all this content and all you're doing is just consuming. I think between my human design, gene keys, astrology, and my, what is it called? We always have strength finders. Number one is connection. So if I have to just throw content at people, like I don't even like doing pre-recorded classes. Like the fact that we have Liberation Foundations, we keep that because that was birthed from long COVID and my recovery. So that's fine. But I am someone that when I teach something, I want to teach it live. I want to give you the experience. I want to feel the energy. And I think that's actually what I love about me and my work is that I am in the trenches. And maybe it's because I'm a former pastor, deacon person. Like you're in there with your people. You don't just send your people out to battle. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to be a general, right, be with your people. Like every Army veteran movie I've seen is the generals usually with their people unless they're colluding with the government. But anyway, so Creative Woman's Guide, you said that that statement allowed you to share my work with people that had never been able to connect to anti-racism work. That is very powerful. I just want to screenshot that and I might, if that's okay, if I have consent to use that, you might see it on the meme. Just because that's something that I am really appreciating is like when people share with me how the work has shifted or transformed them. Because in my lowest of moments, which I would say that the last 2 years have been pretty low for me, but the last 90 days since they took the Instagram account, I can like fully explain, like it's been pretty low. Like I haven't been wanting to show up. I don't work. It's just been a lot, you know what I mean? And so when I see like words of affirmation, which is also kind of like my love language, and just the way that the work transformed, it just reminds me to keep showing up, like, which is why I showed up for this 7:00 live. Like, y'all know I'm tired. I did a live this morning, but I've committed to showing up for 30 days to get myself back in the practice of showing up. Not to overperform, but I need to get myself going because I will wallow and I will disassociate. And my therapist, my spiritual teacher, and my coach will be like, "What did you do this week?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And they're like, "Okay, we know you're resting, but you have to do something." And it's the same thing that my mom, Mario, Jess, I can just give you a list of names. Like, are you doing something? And so for everyone to wake up and I'm like, "Okay, I'm doing this thing for 30 days. Everyone's like, "Okay, let's go. And it's always good to get pumped up by a crew because they know I live by the motto. Even if one person joins a live, that's good enough. Even if one person signs up for a class, that's good enough because there's power in one. You know, even reading that comment about you, that statement allowing you to share my work, like that's power because you hearing that, you took it to other people who never thought about this work. So it's just very inspiring, like to hear the ways in which the work transforms people. Because I only know for those who sign up for the collective, I only know it based on members of the collective. I don't necessarily know it for, Substack subscribers, YouTube followers. I never really know. So it's always good to hear from y'all and to really have y'all like give love. It feels very reciprocal. I think for a while it felt unbalanced, but as I'm emerging slowly, it's been pretty cool. It's also kind of a hard day. One thing that people don't know about me is that I fast. As being premenopausal, I found the book Fast Like a Girl pretty phenomenal for me. And so I'm kind of also a little low just with fasting, but really, really grateful to be here. And like, I'm going to go check the campaign and see if someone got a book, because why not? That's what we're on here for. And then I got to work with the crew to give everyone an update on our giving for the year as a collective, because we did a lot. We've raised $25,000 for people in order. That's extra. I think it might be, if I go outside of Give Butter, we might have raised more than that in the year. And it's gone to Black, Indigenous, trans, disabled, unhoused. Like, we have done the dang thing. And I said I would work with the crew to make like an impact graphic so everyone could see what we've done. But we've done some dope, great work, and I'm so grateful for us. Okay, so no one's got a book yet, and that's okay. That's okay. I haven't even sent an email yet, and y'all are still probably catching up. What are we doing? That's all right. We're gonna get a book sold tomorrow. We're gonna keep showing up, because this is also teaching us, right? What are we learning in real time, friends? That your value is not tied up in numbers. So the numbers is a goal. The number is great, right? Like, I probably will get to that number just because I love myself, I trust in myself, and I believe in myself, and I have a whole group of people who also believe, right? So that's the thing about your journey is similar, right? Like, okay, I'm going to take this liberation journey and I'm going to show up. And actually, in this book, Heal Your Way Forward, right? You can get your copy, click the link in the bio. It's the 3K in 30-day campaign. There's a whole chapter on ghosting. I'm like giving y'all everything. It says, chapter 8, did you ghost? Good, recommit. All right, I just threw my book. I do that sometimes. I don't think this is one that I'm selling. Okay. If you ghost, great. You need to be like, I done ghosted, I done gave up. What I'm finna do next. If you ghost any journey, like I ghosted myself for 90 days. I haven't really been on the internet. And when I'm on the internet, I'm talking about all types of stuff that has nothing to do with my work, right? But when you recommit, you learn to get consistent, and you learn that if you fall down again, there's always an upward spiral. And I think that's something that people don't recognize and don't understand. Yes, there's failure. I don't get me in this oppressive language. There's falling, whatever. There's failure, but there's also the upward spiral. And as someone who's getting super sober, whether it's sober from alcohol, almost 22 months, sober in relationships, sober with social media, wherever I'm getting sober from requires consistency. And something that someone asked me is like, you're sober, so do you go to a bar? I sure do go sit at a bar. 22 months in, I can go sit at a bar. I can order a Sprite. I can order a mocktail. I can order water with lemon. I can order a spritzer. I can order some nuts. Bars have very good chicken wings. I'm a wing girl, okay? But it's been consistency of, instead of having a drink, when I have that urge, what do? I feel my feelings. I practice vulnerability with myself, my journal, a close friend, or I go for a walk. I transmute the energy. So if you've ghosted on any form of your journey, the call is just recommitment and transmuting to recommit. What does transmutation means? I remember I met a woman. I always have a storyteller. I told her about check your privilege, and I told her the work we were doing. She was like, oh, so you're teaching people to transform, transmute to transcend above racism. And I was like, you got that off. She's like, based on what I've seen, what you're saying to me, and what you're doing, check your privilege is helping people to transform, transmute, and transcend. And I was like, oh, that's so good. I never used it. But now it's true, right? Because you step into this work, when you recommit or when you commit, it takes you back into transformation. I'm here to transform. I'm here to heal forward. I'm here to break cycles, right? And then you can transmute that. Like, you have to not just talk about it. You got to be about this life. Like, when I say be about it, I mean, you have to like engage. And, we have our niche down your journey journal in the bio as well. You can get that whole strategy of how to help engage with like boundaries. Gotta have, maybe the word's not boundaries. New words are forming for me. So you got to recommit, you have to re-engage, And then you have to transmute all that energy, which is why I spend so much time talking to people about grief. You have to feel that. There are the days of us feeling like, I'm so sad and I'm grieving and I'm just going to just deal with it. That is in your body. Y'all know trauma lives in our bodies. Y'all know that. So if you're not twerking it out, crying it out, talk therapy is cute, but you also have to move. Like what Mary just said, nothing happens until something moves. So if you've ghosted, take this video as your sign to recommit. Take this video as your sign to go pick up Heal Your Way Forward. Links in the bio. It is the 3K and 30-day campaign. Get you a book. Something, right? But you got to commit to a process and you have to be consistent. So this is my first day. And I've been consistent because I said I would do 2 a day and I actually did 3. What are you committed to and what are you consistent to? As someone who's become sober, consistency and commitment are part of the journey. And self-forgiveness. The more I sit around and wallow in my own shit, Jennifer Lawrence, the Black mother of Hollywood, said it. You sit in your shit too long, you start smelling yourself. Can we just keep it real here? There's no more sugarcoating. There's no more performative, assimilated Maisha. You sit in your own shit too long, you start smelling yourself. So you have to recommit. And recommitment looks different for everybody. Recommitment looks different for me today than it did yesterday. And it's just like sobriety, Mary. I'm glad you said this. Every day I recommit. Every day is the opportunity to recommit to something. Every day, thank you, Mary, is the opportunity to recommit to something. So say you was on the internet streets and you got into it with another liberal and you cursed them out. Guess what? Tomorrow, if you still going back and forth with that person, hopefully you not, you can go and say, you know what? I lost my cool. We good, and keep it moving. Or you can, if you want to leave them cussed out, leave them cussed out. But every day, it's almost like, when I think of Christianity, no longer practicing Christian, but I think about, times in the Bible where it's like, Paul's like, I deny myself daily, or I think of the death and resurrection. That is recommitment to me. I don't have to wait for Easter. Like I can let everything that happened in this day, just let it, whether it's through meditation, twerking is very good. Moving the hips, especially if you're assigned female at birth, move those hips, okay? It's trauma in there. Stretching, yoga, anything, trauma-informed yoga, Jess told me about that. Anything you can do to release whatever didn't go right today, tomorrow you can recommit. Okay, so maybe today you didn't sign any petitions. Okay, do it tomorrow. Who's watching? That's the other thing. Who is watching? There are so many rules for us to be for liberation, but we still keep recreating the same rules and oppression. For the longest time, and I'm glad I'm publicly saying this, who created the rules of what we can and can't do in liberation? There are some things that we just know because the books we've read by the ancestors and elders, but there's some things I sit up and I'm like, if you take a social media break, you don't have to make a public service announcement and announce to everyone, I'm taking a social media break, because that's centering yourself. You're trying to prepare for the guilt that you're being offline. I'm just using this as an example. You don't owe nobody no explanation. And when you start talking about healing codependency, you start to realize, why am I over-explaining myself? You know what I'm saying? So I just want to throw that in here. But I will say that I'm out of steam and that this is my second live and I have to trust my body. And so what I do want to ask you all to do is that if you can shoot me. If something I said resonated, you can Venmo me at Maisha Hill. Or you can grab you a copy of this book by going to the campaign page. It's a campaign because I have to order all the books at the same time. I can't just order them a little bit. I have to order them at the end of the 30-day period. 48 hours after that to 72, the order goes in. But please go to the link. You have 30 days to grab a copy. Grab a copy. If you are a person who are Black or Indigenous or a person of culture, get this for that one supervisor, manager, boss who thinks that they're the manager. And all you got to do is just sit it on their desk and walk off. They just going to see a signature. Seriously, get this for somebody you know at work who gets on your nerves, who happens to be a person in a white body, and just all you got to do is be like, you know what? I was on Instagram and I thought you might like this, and just drop it. TikTok, YouTube, just drop it on them. You just want to be like, or if you don't want to say nothing, put it in a gift bag. You can get a gift bag from the Dollar Tree with some tissue paper and just sit it on their desk, and they got a gift, the gift of healing. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to go. Thank you for tuning in to the live. It's day 1. Guess what? We are not addicted to performance and metrics. We're doing the best we can, but if you can support the campaign, support it. If you're on the mailing list, you'll get your email tomorrow morning, and we're going to keep living into this work because that's all we got. All right, friends. You all have a beautiful rest of your evening.